This is Dr. Leslie Blevins with Anilda Clinic at anildaclinic.com, and today I'm going to talk with you about a trend I'm seeing in the parents that I'm working with and that I'm hearing from parents online and just in my daily life chatting with parents that I know, and that is this pervasive mild to moderate level of anxiety and overwhelm that is always there every day and throughout the day, especially during this pandemic life. I think it's at a higher level these days, and I think it coincides with this tendency for parents to really put themselves on the back burner and to want to give their children the best, and so to constantly prioritize the tasks they need to get done for their families and the work that they need to get done for their jobs. And at the end of the day, sometimes that means that what they're doing to take care of themselves and to feel their best and to feel rejuvenated doesn't get done in daily life. And so now during our pandemic life, it's especially apparent that sometimes these parents just aren't feeling good and they're starting to feel really overwhelmed and worn down. And I know that what I'm seeing is that there's this interaction pattern happening where the parents are feeling overwhelmed and stressed out, but because everybody's stuck at home and interacting together and there's no escape route, for instance, that stress is actually being picked up on by the children. And so the children in the home are starting to become more clingy and wanting more attention and maybe being more irritable, more non-compliant. And so it's actually creating this feedback loop, a really unfortunate feedback loop that's adding even more stress to parents' already very stressful days. And so I wanted to talk with you guys today about this dynamic that I'm starting to notice, this pattern. I think before the pandemic, it existed at a low level. For some families, maybe it was already at a moderate level, but now during the pandemic, with all the extra roles that parents have to take on, being a homeschool parent, working from home, feeding your kids all meals throughout the day, being the only one around to play with your kid, being their playmate with no friends available, it's really hard. And so that stress level has been kicked up a notch. And so I want to talk about self-care. Now, I recognize this is a luxury term. Many parents, whenever I talk about self-care with them, they immediately kind of roll their eyes and they're like, yeah, I don't have time for that. And when am I going to find time to go do the thing I used to do before I was a parent, which is, go for a jog for 30 minutes or go out with my friends for a drink or go get my nails done. Either there's time, there's money, things aren't open right now during the pandemic, and it's really hard. Well, I want to talk with you about what self-care really means, because it's so much more than these pre-planned big activities that take up a good portion of time during your day or effort and money. Okay, so self-care is a mindset, and what it means is that you're constantly putting out this perception with how you're interacting with your environment and your loved ones, so that you're getting back feedback that tells you that you're an important person, that you're calm, that you feel respected, that you feel relaxed, whatever it is that helps you feel cared for. And so the first step here is to really think about what are those values, or what is it that's important to you that you need right now in order to feel whole or centered or at peace, so that you can be a functioning person. Now, I say person intentionally because I'm not saying a parent right now, but what do you need to be a functioning person? That might mean that you need feedback that you're doing a good job. You need feedback that you're worthy. right? Like you're worthy regardless of how bad that reading lesson went, regardless of how bad and the fight that happened trying to get your kid to sit at the kitchen table for 2 hours to do their math or whatever. You need feedback that you're a good, worthy parent. That might help you feel like a good person. And so we're going deeper than just the role of being a parent. We're going deeper than just the role of you being an employee. And we're going deeper than you being in the role of a spouse or a child, right? So there's so many different roles that you are in during this pandemic life that have a lot of stress in them. And the way that we do self-care is we step back and we're just the person, whoever you are, and what do you need to feel like you're being nourished and you're being cared for. The key with self-care is that it's in the name. You're doing it for yourself. And so it's a mindset, and we do it with the words that we say to ourselves. And so I'll give you an example. With my coffee in the morning, I love coffee. I feel like I'm probably addicted to coffee, and like many Americans are. And but what I could do is I could just chug the cheapest coffee as much as possible and just be like, I just need this to get through the day, right? And in that way, there would be no special connection for my moment of getting coffee. And many parents know they need caffeine to get through the day, right? But they're going to be drinking it cold after a few sips, and it's just not going to give them that feedback that they are important, that things are calm, that they can make it through, that there is this special connection between them and the world when they have their coffee. And so something that I do is I make myself special coffee. So I have found that I like cold brew coffee, and specifically because it has less acidity in it, so it makes my tummy feel better. And I like it with oat milk because it's super creamy, and I like it with maple syrup because that just has a really rich, sweet flavor. And so I make my special coffee in the morning, and whenever I make it and I sip on it, I am so happy. And not only that, but I'm giving myself this feedback, and I'm generating these thoughts from that experience that I'm important enough to have that moment. Now, because it's cold, I don't have that struggle that it will go cold if I get caught up with having to do something around the house. So there's kind of that planning moment in there too, that I've organized my environment to allow me to experience that special moment for longer in my morning. And it also allows me that every time I have that sip, it's just so magnificent. It's honestly, it's one of the reasons I can get out of bed in the morning. It just makes me so blissfully happy. And so that's one thing that I do, right? Yours might be something different. Yours might be hot tea, or it might be a preferred food. It could be anything, really. The key here is that it's generating thoughts. It's the fact that you put in that thought and that effort because it's something that you want. That's the key, right? It's kind of like with your kids. Do you put in thought and effort to give your kids foods that they enjoy? Yeah, I'm sure you do. I mean, they're not eating foods they enjoy all the time. You're also giving them healthy foods and giving them variety, helping them to learn about new foods. But I'm sure that you go out of your way to give them experiences that they enjoy, because it gives them meaning. It gives them this internal dialogue where they say, my mommy, my daddy thinks I'm important. So why not do that for yourself? Yeah. Now, food is just one example. There are lots of other ways throughout the day that we can generate experiences that help us to continue this thought dialogue with ourselves that tells us that we're important and that we're calm and that we're cared for. So let's take, for instance, the homeschooling that's happening with parents. Let's say that you're in a particularly stressful situation and your kid is battling just sitting at the kitchen table for 2 hours every day to get worksheets done or to watch the videos their teachers are sending. And so you're sitting right there with them. You know, you have organized your day, you have this schedule down to where you can be there with your child, and it feels miserable the whole time because they're battling you. That's really hard. The thing that I want you to know about that is that you as a person, you have sacrificed and you have persevered and you have done such a wonderful thing because you have honored your value of parenting by doing that. And so what we're doing is we're stepping outside of this parenting role where in that parenting role it felt really icky and hard and it wasn't a happy 2 hours. And so whenever you're sitting in your parenting role, that 2 hours was bleh and miserable. It didn't feel valued. But whenever you step back into your person role and who you are, you can recognize that sometimes you have to do things that are hard. Sometimes you have to try out hard things before you find a way that works. As a side note, I have a lot of other videos that talk about making homeschooling work right now because I know it's hard for you guys. And so whenever we step back as a person, you can look at your behaviors and you can say, even though those 2 hours were really super hard, I'm proud of myself and I feel good about my behavior and I feel good about my consistency. And even in those moments where your kid was frustrated, maybe you showed calmness and kindness towards your child. Maybe you showed empathy for their frustration. Those are all amazing attributes that you're modeling for your child and values that you're passing on to your child. So as a person, if you're telling yourself this in a running dialogue throughout the day, you're actually giving yourself that grace, that kindness, and that nourishment that your soul needs to be taken care of. That's how we do it. That's how we do self-care in an ongoing way throughout the day without really doing any kind of big efforts or taking a lot of time or using a lot of money to get the job done. It's about looking at the situation, identifying the value. Why are we in this situation? And then giving ourselves that luxury of honoring why we're engaging in that situation to meet our value. And if you start noticing that over and over, you're actually doing self-care. I hope that this video was helpful to you guys out there. I know many people are having difficulties just getting through the stress and managing the consistent stress levels that are happening these days. And you can always come back to anildaclinic.com to find more videos. And you can sign up for the videos there and get these in your email box where I actually go into even more detail about what I talk about in the videos. All right, guys, I'll see you next time.